meu Deus.
A deadly storm that triggered floods and thousands of evacuations in the Iberian Peninsula sparked calls on Thursday for Portugal's presidential runoff to be postponed, but electoral officials insisted it would go ahead. The country of around 10 million people had barely recovered from last week's battering by rain and winds that killed 5 people, injured hundreds, and left tens of thousands without power. This week's storm Leonardo has left 1 dead in Portugal and lashed the southern Spanish region of Andalusia, where rescuers were searching for a missing woman and evacuated thousands of people. Scientists say human-driven climate change is increasing the length, intensity, and frequency of extreme weather events, such as the floods and heat waves that have struck both countries in recent years. Portuguese officials issued their highest flood alert for the Tagus in the central Santarém region on Thursday and evacuated people from homes near the river. Civil Protection Chief Mario Silvestri said it was the worst flood threat along the Tagus in nearly 3 decades. Local media quoted far-right presidential candidate André Ventura as saying he would ask for Sunday's second-round vote to be pushed back a week due to the emergency, as a matter of equality among all Portuguese. But the National Electoral Authority said in a statement the vote would go ahead Sunday as scheduled. A state of emergency, weather alerts, or overall unfavorable situations are not in themselves a sufficient reason to postpone voting in a town or region, it said. Ventura is due to face the socialist favorite Antonio Vosa Seguro, who won the January 18 first round for the mostly ceremonial position. Seguro told local media, "It is up to the authorities to hold the election in each municipality. I call on the Portuguese people who are able to vote to do so on Sunday." In Alcácer do Sal, south of Lisbon, Mayor Clarice Campos told national news agency Lusa that the municipality of around 10,000 electors had decided to postpone voting day by a week. The conditions are not in place. We have several isolated localities, and the town center is completely flooded, she said. Firefighters waded through the water and used inflatable boats to rescue trapped residents, AFP journalists saw. Diolinda Guerra, a 78-year-old pensioner evacuated by the rescuers, said, "My house is full of water. Everything is ruined. My washing machine, the fridge, everything." A man in his 60s died in the southeast on Wednesday after being swept away by the current while attempting to drive across a flooded area. The IPMA weather agency said last month, marked by a string of storms, was Portugal's second wettest January this century. Across the border in Spain, Andalusian emergency services said they had dealt with more than 3,200 incidents linked to the storm since Monday as the rain and wind triggered floods, landslides, and building collapses. Rescuers were searching for a woman swept away by a river in the Sialonga municipality on Wednesday as she tried to rescue her dog from the current. Authorities were evacuating around 1,500 people from the mountainous municipality of Grazalema, which on Wednesday soaked in as much rain as Madrid usually receives in a year. Lara Olivar, a 25-year-old actress, told AFP in the village, "We never imagined that this would happen here," as water seeped into garages and homes. Schools reopened in most of Andalusia after the lifting of the highest weather alert, but remain suspended in the worst-hit areas, with road and rail transport still heavily disrupted. The region's leader, Juanma Moreno, told reporters that 15 municipalities had been cut off as more than 80 roads were shut. Flooding in Alcácer do Sal, Alentejo, has reached unseen proportions, according to those who live there, and remains, in the eyes of authorities, one of the most worrying cases in terms of flood management. On the Sado River, Alcácer has always been prone to seasonal floods, but nothing like extremes seen since Storm Kingston hit the country last week. In certain places, floodwaters have reached a depth of 2 meters, inundating homes and businesses. Schools have been closed until next week as the situation has simply become too precarious. In a meeting yesterday to try and present a roundup of situations and discuss their handling/prognosis for the next few hours and days, APA President Pimenta Machado admitted Alcácer is one of the most worrying cases the authorities are faced with. At the meeting, attended by Environment Minister Maria da Graça Carvalho, Machado outlined the national picture since the arrival of Storm Leonardo. Dams throughout the Algarve are now having to discharge water. Even Bravura Dam, set back behind Odiaxer, which in the recent past has struggled with pitifully low water levels. The Guadiana, he added, is reaching very high levels as a result of the discharges coming from Spain. At the meeting, Maria Felizbina Cuadrado, director of APA's Department of Water Resources, pointed to this Thursday morning being critical, particularly for the north and center of the country. As well as alerting to levels of watercourses in the eastern Algarve and the Sado River. She highlighted the dangers posed by the Tejo, Mondego, and Douro rivers, all of them posing high flooding risks for areas, including Albergaria of Velha, Aveiro, Estorija, Ilhavo, Mira, Mertosa, Ovar, Vagos, and Cantanhede, while in Igueda, the town of Igueda, could also be affected. Prognosis remains that areas of Coimbra, Condeixa Nova, Figueira da Foz, Miranda do Corvo, Montemor o Velho, and Sor could all find themselves suffering inundations over the next hours and days. In the Tejo, increased flow could affect Abrantes, Almerim, Alpiarça, Azambuja, Benavente, Cartaxo, Chamusca, Constantia, Coruche, Entroncamento, Gavio, Galega, Salvaterra de Magos, Santarém, Vila Franca de Xira, and Vila Nova de Barquina, while water from the Soraya River could flow into some areas of Benavente. Yesterday's meeting also heard that the towns of Arcos de Valdez, Pont de Barca, and Pont de Lima on the Lima River and Braga, Brasilos, Vila Verde, and Esposenda on the Cavado River are at high risk of flooding. On River Ave, there may be flooding in Santo Terço, Trofa, and Vila Nova de Famalicão. And on the Douro, there is the risk of flooding in Gondomar, Porto, Vila Nova de Gaia, Lamigo, and Paso de Régua. These risks are all adding to the extraordinary pressure facing the country, where hundreds of thousands are living in homes damaged by over a week of bad weather, and businesses and factories in countless areas are struggling to cope. The current depression, Leonardo, is expected to continue causing problems until a weekend, after which rain is still forecast, but at nothing like the rate that it has been falling recently. By the middle of February, Portugal should be emerging from the nightmare of the last few weeks, although it will take weeks for the damages and destruction to be repaired.